Okay. Let me just remove all of these styles. So let's come here to the docs for Bootstrap, and what we need to do is just get the CDN. So let's go to the home page. So there are different ways to bring Bootstrap into your project, but the easiest way is to use the CDN, which is the content delivery network, which I already told you guys about before. So we are just going to copy that, then come here and then paste it. So that's Bootstrap. So let's just comment Bootstrap CSS only, and then we also have JavaScript, because you have to put JavaScript if you have to enjoy the interactivity. I think I showed you why we needed JavaScript, right? You remember? Because of things like the drop down menu and then the accordions, the pop-ups, and so on. You know, without JavaScript, you don't have interactivity on your project. So we also want to put in the Bootstrap JavaScript. So we could put it in the head. And you know, when we want JavaScript to be in the head tag, what do we need to do? We need to add an attribute, right? What's that attribute? Defer. So that means, yeah. So even if it's at the top, it's still going to load, last, after everything else has loaded or is loaded. So what we want to do now is let's just create a section. Sorry. So if you're using VS Code, of course, you have access to this. So there's a container class in Bootstrap, and that container class just gives your page margin to the left and right. So let me put an H1 here, and let me say hello. So when we come back here, you can see that we already automatically have a margin. So that margin we have on the left hand side is courtesy of the container class. So if I hover on top of it, you can see we have a margin auto on both sides, and there's a max width of 720 pixels. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
So that's because of Bootstrap, but we are not using container in this case. So we want to be able to replicate that same thing that is happening on front-end mentors. So what we want to do here is let's just create a row. So instead of doing display flex, once you do row in Bootstrap, you can now have you can have something similar to what you would have if you are using a flex box, which is going to divide your page into a grid system. So let me just show you what I mean by that quickly. So I'm going to have row. So to complement the row class is going to be the column class. So let's create a div and say column, and then the column class is works in a certain way that I don't just want to do this and say hello, and then let me just copy this a couple of times. Let's like 3 times. So you can see it already divided into 3 different places. Does that make sense? And then to make that work properly, so let me just add my own custom class, and okay, let's use Bootstrap background class, and let's say BG danger, BG primary, and let's do, remember the BG classes, right? The background classes, BG secondary. You remember those ones? So you can see now that we actually have our screen divided into 3, and with 3 different backgrounds. You get the point? So I could create extra ones, and if you can see it's distributing the sizes equally across several screens. Can you see that? Hello?
Yes, sir, I'm following, sir.
Okay, you guys are with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so let's change this one to BG1, and all of these are coming from Bootstrap, you remember? And then let's say BG info, and then let's say this one is BG success. So you can see that now. So we have we have our screens actually divided across our divs divided across the screen, and they're having equal sizes. So that's what you get by using the Bootstrap row classes. So you see, when we don't use the row class, you can see everything just falls down to the next line. So you can see we have a display of flex here, and if you inspect the row class, you can see we have a display of flex on the row class. So this is already specified with Bootstrap. So you can see when I comment out the flex and property, it goes out. So you can see all of this stuff. So it's working fine, right? So you always don't want to do this. So what you want to do is in Bootstrap is you want to be able to specify what is the size of each column. But remember, before you have columns, you have to have a row parent class, and the row parent class works, most likely in most cases will be inside a container class. But here you want to specify the size of each column, so you could say column, 1, and this column is going to be, you know as wide as, because there are different dimensions. In Bootstrap you can have up to 12 columns in a row. Does that make sense? That is, this column 1, you can have 12 of it in a particular row. So let's do column 1 again.
Sorry, sir.
Thank you. And let's do column 1 again, and let's do column 1. Let's also do column 1. So this column 1, we can have up to 6, up to 12. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see now that there's a specific size when you set column 1, and it has a fixed size of, depending on your screen size, 8.333%. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So you can see that now, that it keeps sizing it down even when we shrink down our screen size. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
So that's for column 1. So we could also, it doesn't have to be column 1. So let's create a new div now under this one, and let's say this one will be column 6. It doesn't have to be 1. So that's going to take the rest of the screen. So let's give this one a bg of danger, just to see it. So you can see now this takes in half of the screen, because we should have only 12 columns in Bootstrap. Does that make sense? So we have 6 column 1s, and then the column 6 actually takes half of the screen, because column 6 is equivalent to setting column 1 6 times. Do you get the point?
So if I can get it correct, what you mean is that Bootstrap has the total screen size in Bootstrap is 12.
Yeah, for if you are using Bootstrap rows. And let me just see if I can get that out for
if you. If you are using Bootstrap row and column, abi?
Yes. So there are 12 maximum rows. So let's try and validate that from their documentation.
So we can try to divide our screen into, is either maybe 6 6 or 7 5 or 8
exactly.
4.
It has to be equal to 12. It has to be equal to. You could do 3 3 3. You could do 3 4 4 4. So yeah, so it's 12. There are other frameworks that don't use this 12 standard. That don't use a standard of 12 columns. I think Mr. Kingsley, I think your mic is making some noise. Okay, so it doesn't have, like other frameworks, use different standards, but for Bootstrap you have 12 columns. For semantic UI they have 16. So whatever you are doing, you have to make sure that it's always equal to 12. So if I can decide to do, and let me just show you this in manner of writing. Let me remove many of these. So I can decide to do 3. Are you with me? 3.
Yes, sir.
I can do 3 3 6. So you can see that also works, right? You get the point. We could also do 3 in 4 places, right? We could do 3 in 4 places. You can see that. Then we could also do 4 in 3 places. So it doesn't matter how you decide to distribute it. You could even do 3, 1 3, and then 1 9. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, sir.
So it's still the same. So for this kind of card you have now, this card design that you created, if you wanted to use Bootstrap, you could have just used a row. Then you give that card side, a row column of 3. Then you give the remaining column of 9. Or you could do 7 5, or you could do 4 8. You understand? Yeah, exactly. So you could do that. So what we are doing now is currently not responsive. And what I mean by that is, when we go to a mobile screen, it still tries to put them side by side, which you don't always want to do. You know that on most websites, even when you have 3 items, and let me just I'm trying to find it, and let me just say, okay, let me do the one I know and I'm quite familiar with. So let's go to this. You will see that, and that if I set this to a mobile screen, for example, let's say iPhone 12 Pro, you will see that a lot of things that were side by side, we adjust to stack on top of each other. Like these guys, for example, this safe, fast, and reliable. You see that when we come to the safe, fast, and reliable, you see that they are side by side on a big screen. But as you size down, they start to come on top of each other. Does that make sense?
So are you saying that for this one now, it was Bootstrap that it was used to build it, Abi?
Yeah, there's only one way to find out. When we inspect, you will actually see if it is bootstrap. So let's say we inspect somewhere like this, for example. So you can see we
Okay,
have
yes,
column.
bootstrap.
So when you see the
Yes.
class names, you can easily tell which CSS framework was used. So you can see container, and there are also custom styling, of course. You get. So, but you can see that
Yeah.
we have column, and you can see that here we have column SM3, column SM3, column SM. Can you see that? So that's
Yes, sir.
exactly the trick. When you need to make your layout responsive, in other words, when you are on a mobile screen, you want it to display differently compared to when you are on the desktop screen. So instead of just doing column 3, you need to add the breakpoints. I remember we saw some breakpoints during the last class. We saw what's it called? We saw MD, we saw SM, we saw XS. So these are all sizing conventions in Bootstrap. We saw LG. You get that? So you see how we
Yes,
use
sir.
that now. So when I say column MD, so what this will do, you can see they are now on top of each other. Can you see that? Can you see
Yes,
down there?
sir.
So once I
Yes,
added
sir.
column MD3, and what that means is that only on medium screen sizes, that is tablets and above, will it add that particular rule set. Does that make sense? So
Yes,
that
sir.
means if I do column MD3, that means on medium screen sizes like tabs and
Yes, sir.
so on, when I expand it, you will see that they will come side by side after a particular breakpoint. So let me change this back to responsive. So you see they come side by side, but when it gets to a particular breakpoint, that is 7 around 780, 750 something ish, 760 something ish, 769. You see it jumps down to the next line. So but if I remove this MD, it doesn't do that, because that means there's no breakpoint. It will always retain this this layout. So this is, can you see that? Of course, you know that there's no device in the world that is as small as 63 pixels. So it actually does this because there's no way. So your small Android device, or your iPhone or your Android phone, should be around 300 and something. So when I set it to iPhone 12 Pro, you can see that's 390. Can you see that? So that's the width of your mobile phone. So that means on your mobile phone it will still try to render side by side, but certain things are better displayed on smaller screens if you stack them on top of each other, not side by side, because there won't be enough room for them side by side. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm following.
Yeah, so that's why we use breakpoints. And let me just show you Bootstrap breakpoint. So let's see the breakpoint. So you can see for small screens that is less than 576 pixels, use SM. Can you see the breakpoint? Extra small.
So if I can get it correctly now, so you can use this instead of applying normal media query, you can
Exactly.
use this.
Yeah, to set certain things. Though that this doesn't substitute when you have to do some custom media query based on what you want to do, that Bootstrap does not, make provision from. Does that make sense? Sorry. So, but Bootstrap, like I said when we're starting out, that it was built with a mobile first approach. That is, mobile. It was built for mobile screen first of all before desktop. So that means whatever styles or whatever you are applying in Bootstrap, will work very well on mobile naturally, as long as you use the appropriate breakpoints. So if you don't use any breakpoints, that is the style is going to apply on small screen. So you can see that on extra small screen sizes, you don't need to apply anything. Can you see that? Whatever
Yes, sir.
like this column 3 now, on the extra small screen sizes, that is what it is going to try to apply. You get it?
Mommy,
So that so that's what we mean when we say mobile first approach. You guys get that?
so
Hello?
sorry, oh.
It's fine. So you can see that. So when we say mobile first approach, it's talking about everything below 576 pixels. And I need you guys to pay attention here. Anything less than 576 pixels is referred to as extra small device. So 576 pixels is from here. So it's from here. I can actually type it in instead of suffering myself as such. So 570, this is 576 pixels. Can you see that? So that means if I do let's say I do what's it called, BGS, sorry. So when we do sorry, let's do
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? The service is kind of breaking.
the service is breaking.
I don't know if it's yours or mine. I don't know.
This is
Because I think my service is okay. Your way just your sometimes I
What
don't
is
just
the
hear
network
you.
for Mr. Keso? I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
okay, but you guys can see it now. So the breakpoint for extra small screen size is 576 pixels. Then anything greater than 576 pixels but less than 768 is referred to as medium. I'm sorry, small. So from 768 to 992 is referred to as medium. Then large is from 992 to 1200. Extra large is 1200 to 1004. Then extra large is 1400 and above. Does that make sense? So this includes your TV and so on. Is that okay, guys? So know that we have SM, MD, LG, XL, XXL. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
But when you don't apply any breakpoints, it's going to apply it even to the smallest screen size. So like I told you, Bootstrap was built with a mobile first approach. That is, if you don't specify breakpoints, it is going to target smaller screens first of all. Does that make sense? So that's why when we don't set any breakpoint. And what are the breakpoints? Can you give me an example of a breakpoint by Bootstrap classes? One example.
MD.
Exactly, MD for medium size, medium screen. Then SM for
SL,
small
OG.
screen. Then X extra small. Some people refer to that as XS, but Bootstrap doesn't use that. I think in the previous versions of Bootstrap they used that, but I don't think they use it again. Let's check version 4. I think they used XS. Maybe. Let me just check. Let me check. I just want to be sure. Because you have to be, that there have been various versions of Bootstrap before. So this is not the only version that there is. This is version 5 we are talking about. So let's just go back to our version 5. So just know we have SM, MD, LG, XL, XXL. Does that make sense? And these are all the pixel value. Okay, you can see XS here, right? Can you see it? So XS is from 0 to 576. Can you see that? So we have XS, XSM, MD, LG, XL, and XXL. So here, if we don't specify anything, automatically you should know that that's for small screen sizes. So below 576, right? Pixels.
Yes, sir.
So let's spell pixels. So that's for without specifying anything, but you could also do column, I believe XS, right? Then this one SM. So we say between 576 and what 768 pixels, not pixels. Does that make sense? Then what's the next one? MD is between 768 to what 992. Then we have what LG is from 992 to 1200, and this should be 991 actually, not 992, and this should be 767. Not, you get the point. Then we also have XL. So XL is from what 1200, so this should be 19999. 1200 to 1399. That's for XL. Then XSL is from XSL is from 1400 and above. Does that make sense? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let's see something now. So let's set on smaller screens. Let this one take what's it called? Let it take let's say it takes 12, the entire 12 row on smaller screens. Does that make sense? Then this one on the next category, it takes let's say it takes 6. Sorry, 6. Then for this one, so let's try this and see what happens. So you can see what is happening here. So you can see that this one always takes 12. Can you see that? But this one now, at this point, at this breakpoint, what did we say it should take? It takes 6 at the larger breakpoint, but at the smaller breakpoint, you see it also takes 12. But at the bigger one, you can see it begins to take, half of the screen, which is what we specified. Does that make sense? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here now, see what we could do here. So for all of them, we could specify that they should take the entire column on smaller screen sizes, that they should take 12 on smaller screen sizes. And please don't get confused with this. And yeah, let me also paste this on smaller screen sizes. So on bigger screen sizes, we could say they should take column SM6. Does that make sense? On this other category. So when the screen size is between, what's it called, 576 and 577, it should take what, 6 column wide. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So you could specify more than one breakpoint on each element. So let's try this. So you can see that now. That on this size it takes half. Can you see that? They are aligned side by side. When I make it smaller, I can see it becomes 12 column wide. Can you see that? But when it becomes bigger, it takes half of the width. Can you see that? So you can see now that we have a mobile responsive layout without doing so much work. We just added class names and that's it. So let's even take it further and saying, okay, on this larger screen size, let's say the one larger than the tabs, which is this category, from here let it take 3 columns wide. Does that make sense? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So let's say here, or let's add one more breakpoint. Let's say 4. Let's say we want to make it 4 on what's it called, MD. Does that make sense? That is the medium devices like tablets and so on. So once we add that on tablet, it's going to take 4 columns wide. And I hope this is clear enough for everyone and that is not confusing. So you can see now that we have 4 columns wide. Can you see that? Can you see now from 700 and what? MD is what? 700 and from 768 to 992. I think that's MD. So this is XS, this is SM, this is MD, right? So let's now do LG. Does that make sense? Hello.
Again,
We are setting different breakpoints. We are saying if the screen size is a very small screen size, each of these elements should take 12 column wide. Does that make sense? That is the entire row to itself. So the entire row means they will not be side by side. They will be on top of each other. If it, remember I said the maximum row columns we have per row is what, 12. Hello.
Okay.
So we are
Yes,
saying
sir.
if it is what, XS, that is extra small screen size, let each element take all of the row to itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Then the next category of screen sizes is SM. Can you see that? And SM is between 576 pixels to 767. So we are saying when it is what, the screen size next to extra small screen size, let it be 6 columns wide for each element. And you can see how that plays here. After this, you can see that there will be, we have per row, like in total.
So do you mean if
next column.
element if it have 2 elements with 6, it's going to only take only 2 rows
Yeah,
because
because
it's 12 in total.
yeah, 12 in total. So if we say it's just simple like divided by mathematics, 12 divided by 3, definitely we know how many will be there. 4. 12 divided by 4, we know 3 elements will make it. So if the maximum column per row is 12, so if I specify 6 on each one of them, that means there will only be a maximum of 2 per row on these screen sizes. So see, each one of these things are screen sizes. XS, just like if you are buying clothes, if they say XS, that means it's extra small, right? SM means small, MD is medium, then LG is what? Large. XL is extra large, XXL is extra large, right? So all of these are just different screen sizes, but they call them breakpoints when you are dealing with CSS frameworks or CSS in general media queries. So this specifies represent different breakpoints. So this breakpoint is what? Devices below 576 pixels. Does that make sense? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So we keep having different ones. So we are saying that if it is medium screen sizes, how many elements do we want per row? 3 elements, because each element will be taking 4 columns. And if there are 12 columns in total, if one element takes 4, how many elements can we have per row? We can only have 12 divided by 4, right? Which is 3.
Yes.
So in medium screen sizes are elements between screen sizes between 768 pixels and 991 pixels. So let us see 768 pixels and see how many elements. So you can see when we get to 768, you can see it jumps to what? 3 elements per row. Can you see that?
Yes.
Because that's what we specified here. 4 elements and 4 columns wide. That is 3 elements per a row of 12 columns. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kingsley, does it make sense for you too?
No, I'm just trying to get this last one.
Okay, this last
Okay,
one. But you understand what I mean by there are 12 columns in total.
Yes.
So know that this is the base class for columns. This col, right, is the base class for column. The next this thing by after the first hyphen is what? The screen size. Then the next one is the width of the column. So the total width of every bootstrap row is 12 columns. So if you say one element will have 4 column width, what does that mean? That means you can only have 4 column that element with 4 column width, you can only have 3 of it per row, because you cannot have more than 12, and 4 times 3 is 12. Does that make sense? So that means for medium screen sizes you can only have what? 3 of this type of elements that have 4 columns wide. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's what we are doing here. So when it gets to that breakpoint of medium MD, this breakpoint now is MD 668, right, and above. So you can see that we now have 4 columns. And if I inspect it here, can you see it? You see that we have what? Column MD4. Can you see that? So we have each one of them having 4 columns. If I click on it, you will see that 4 columns. So I can see the breakpoint is set here, 768. So if I also increase it further, you see that will change. Sorry, when I reduce it rather, you can see that if I click on each one of them, you can see that then it just goes to the default, which is the 12 column wide, right? So it takes the entire column to itself. So but when I increase it like this, it becomes 6. So you can see column SM6. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So we are just setting breakpoint. So the next one we want to do now is LG. So let's do column LG, which is for large screens. LG, and let's say column LG3, right? So that means if we do column LG3, how many elements will we have per row? Hello, how many? 12 divided by 3.
We should be having
12.
We should be having 4.
Yes, exactly. So when we do
Yes.
this, 12 divided by 3. So let's do this. And let's do this. Don't worry, you understand it. By the time we start doing real project, you get how it works. So we have this now. So on smaller screen, remember we have 12, right? On the small screen side, we have 6, which is 2 elements per row. Then on the next category we have 3. Then on the
Three.
next one we now have 4. That's after 992. And watch this place. Once it passes 992, we'll have 4 elements. Can you see that? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And Bootstrap automatically
Yes, sir.
wraps them, so that if you don't have enough, it will just, it will wrap it up to the amount that you need or that is available. Then it will leave the remaining blank. Does that make sense? And then let me just
Yes,
remove
sir.
this one. It's making things ugly. So that's how it works in total. So I could also decide, okay, which is what we've already done. So you can see they don't always have to be equal. You could make this one 3, you could make this one 6, you could make this one 9, just like that. You get the point. And Bootstrap will, arrange them, as it sees fit. So if I say I want this one to be 12, you will see what will happen now. Can you see that it takes 12 to itself? This one takes 12 to
Yes,
itself.
sir.
It cannot be on the same line with this one because it needs 12. It needs to come to a new line and take the entire row. But this one doesn't have anything to stay with it, because just like when we're doing grid, right? So it came to the next line. So that's how it works. When you are trying to do things like, putting elements side by side, you could easily use Bootstrap rows and columns. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for that assignment that you have, let me just go to front end mentors, and let me just pick any of your assignments and bring it to bear. I'm trying to just show you how to apply that in an actual sense. So let's say we have this now, which is what you did before. So here now, if you are going to be using Bootstrap classes to divide your screen here, you know what to do. And let me just go to front end mentors to get the actual image. So let me just go there and get the actual image. So which is this one? So you can see that here, if you will use Bootstrap to divide this part from this part, what kind of column size do you think we will need? I think this will be what? Like what dimension?
7.5
7.5
or 8.4.
because it looks like a 2/3, right? So
Yes.
it can be 8.4. Yes, 8.4 feels more accurate to me. So let's see what that looks like if we try to create a div. So let's do div what? Div. So most time you want to do div column md what? 4. So let's say h1 and and then we'll do the other and say div dot column md8, right? Oh,
You say that we're not going to add column because it's not effective.
yeah, that's it. I actually didn't do that correctly. So I think for it is a little bit too much. So I think you could do 3.9. I think 3.9 is more like it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So 3.9 is more. And you can see when it becomes smaller, they just go on top of each other automatically. So it only comes side by side, when the screen is large. So when it's not, it comes on top of each other, which is the behavior you would want, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's just I'm not going to be designing the form for you. I just want to show you how that works. Let me do inline style. Sorry. So let's do background. And let me still use the Bootstrap background class. So let's do BG danger, just to see how that is. So you can see that works fine. And then we also have the height classes. So let's do H100. No. So let's do for body class. What's that? So let me do this and see if let me see that. Okay, I'm already using the row class. So and then when you are using Bootstrap, it actually takes away a lot of power from you. Most of the things you would enjoy by default, you might not be able to enjoy them again.
So we'll not be able to manipulate some
No, you can still, just that
styling.
you can, just that some of the things that you would do like by default when you were not using Bootstrap, that maybe you could just easily get away with, you might need to do some additional tweaking to be able to do those things. So
Okay.
yeah. So this is where you might want to use your custom styling to actually set all of this. So just to make it 100 VH, the height is 100%. So we're not doing 100%. So let me just do let's just put a custom styling in the top of the page, or at the top of the page. So let's say style. So let's say body. So that's that for the body. And then let's say body HTML, because so I think that's okay now. So you can actually see that now. So let me get rid of this here. So just make sure whatever you're doing, don't allow your classes to clash with the Bootstrap class. So do what you're doing accordingly. So the left side, so for that other stuff you have to do, so we can just do div dot you could do div dot, let's say, top card, like I did before. And I'm not supposed to be showing you all of this stuff again. So we could just do h3 top card, and then we do this one as bottom card. So for the top card, you could just just what you've done before. And Bootstrap rows used to have columns come with default, what's it called, default
Margin.
yeah, and padding. So you might need to get rid of that. So for this one now, so we could just do.
So you said Bootstrap automatically comes with margin. Sorry.
Eh?
You said Bootstrap something normally comes with margin.
Yes. Bootstrap.
I'm asking.
Bootstrap rows normally come with default padding on the side. So,
okay. So I want to ask you something. Just as the way you actually gave what are they calling it? The body 100 VH, right? Then the left hand side, is it background? I'm sorry, I'm trying to see it. That is red. What we actually use there is an image. Will that image also take the parent value.
As in, I don't understand what you mean.
Okay, because when I imported my own image that is at the left, I have to still give it 100 VH, height of 100 VH.
No, you don't. You mean this background?
Yes.
For this type, you could just use the background image. Now, where is that stuff? This is it now. So let's just say you could say, what's the name of that div self? Okay, it is the left side, right? So this one. So you could
Yes.
instead of doing BG danger, you could just do BG custom. So let's just say we have BG custom. So let's say we have dot BG custom, and then we'll do background. So let's say we have this now. So you can see we don't need to do anything extra, so it just works like that. Does that make sense?
Okay, sir.
So instead of I used bootstrap background before, I just added a custom style and I added that background to it. So you can see for these guys now, so I could just use a negative margin. So I could say, okay, for the top card, so let's say we have dot top card, I could say margin right, and I could give it a negative margin of, let's say, 200 pixels, right? So which is here. So this element now will come outside of here a little bit. So in order for you to see that, let me just give it what's it called, margin left 200 pixel minus 200. So let me give it a text align of right. So you can see it has come outside of here. So if I give it a background color of red, you will see what happens now. So you can see that. So I could give it a margin right, margin left, no, minus 200. Let's say margin left of 200. So offset properly. So you can see that now. Hello.
Yes, sir.
So you could easily use this to, let's say, bottom card now. Are you guys? Is everyone seeing what I'm doing? Triumph. I haven't heard your voice. Triumph.
So
Are you getting it?
I'm not.
Huh?
I'm battling with my network. I've tried to send a message to tell you I'm not exactly following. I just hope
So you
there's a
can
way
see
through. I
this
don't even
one.
know if you even hear me right now.
Okay, sorry.
But
Okay, you can watch. So you can see how I did this now. You can see that's pretty much easy, right? So we have this column 3 now. So what we could do is we could even do this. There's a class of dflex in Bootstrap. We can now do just we could do flex column, that is to set flex direction to column. Can you see that? Then we could now do justify content center. We could do justify, which is a Bootstrap class as well. So you can see that. So here I could just set a margin bottom here. So I'm just showing you the rough idea on how you could do all of these stuff that we did before. 50 pixels. So you can see that. Hello.
Yes, sir.
So this is what you could have used to do whatever it is you wanted to. So this is how you could easily achieve that in Bootstrap. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So I would not want to go. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. So here I wanted us to do something like build something together today, and this is what I wanted us to build. I just want us to build something similar to this using Bootstrap. So which is this? I haven't taken a look at it per se, but I think we can actually do that. I don't know how long it's going to take, but let's just try. So just this is the page from here down. Or you guys can do this with HTML and CSS now.
Yes, sir.
Nice. So we have this. So I'm trying to see. Okay, so it's just the text. So you can see this are all Bootstrap classes. Can you see that? You can see we have text primary. Can you see text primary? So these are all Bootstrap classes. they are all bootstrap classes actually into this network today.